Welcome to the Spectation Sports UFC 261 preview show. I am James Lynch. He is Adam Martin. These are quick picks. They're not going to be too in-depth. We both have a bunch of other platforms where we can get more in-depth picks. But first, Adam, how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Looking forward to talking about this card. Man, I can't wait for the fans to be back. I was tweeting about that, James. I wouldn't go because I don't have a vaccine, but if I had a vaccine, of course I would go. It'd be awesome. There's nothing better than being in the atmosphere of the UFC crowd, man. You know what it's like too.
Yes, absolutely. And we should mention, obviously, too, if you guys are betting on the fights, larger cage, there will be crowds there. There's a couple other factors at play that we haven't seen on a couple other UFC cards. So keep that in mind as well. I shouldn't say a couple. The entire pandemic, we haven't had fans. So there you go. That should be interesting. We're going to start just with the pay-per-view, the main card. Anthony Smith, Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute, the favorite right now. Adam, who are you looking at in this one? Who do you think gets it done?
Man, James, this is kind of a hard fight to call, I think, man. I'm not sure. I'm kind of on the fence about this one, but I'm leaning towards Crute just because he is the younger guy. He does seem a little bit more hungry right now. Smith's kind of up and down lately, James. I'll be honest, I kind of wrote him off after those two losses there to Glover Teixeira and Rakic, but he did look really good against Devin Clark. That's why I'm thinking this is a step down from those kind of guys he was fighting, James. So yeah. I think he's kind of a live dog here, James, but ultimately I got to go with Crute. I think he does get it done. What do you think?
I do like Smith as a live dog here, and I think there's a lot of factors at play. Number one, I look at the fact that a lot of Jimmy Crute's wins are finishes early on. Anthony Smith, very tough to finish in the first round. Rakic couldn't do it. Glover, even when he finished Smith, granted that could have been a little bit sooner had his coach thrown in the towel, but you get what I'm going with. The durability of Anthony Smith, I think, is something that a lot of people are overlooking, not saying you, but seen a lot of people saying, Jimmy Crute first round finish. That could happen here. Absolutely. Jimmy Crute has all the talent. We've seen, him dispatch guys like Modestas Bukauskas and just a lot of really good light heavyweights in the division. But I think we can agree as well that this is definitely a big step up for him. It's not Misha Serkinov. This is Anthony Smith, a guy who's only losing to the best of the best. So I think there's value on Smith as the underdog. I think he can pull this off. And keep in mind too, 3-round fight. So Smith doesn't have to worry about gassing out later in the fight like he did against Glover. If he can if he can survive the early onslaught of Jimmy Crute, I think he has a shot to win here. So I'm going against the grain here. A little bit more experience for Anthony Smith. I think he's still got enough left to beat a Jimmy Crute. So I'm going to go Anthony Smith with my first underdog pick of the night. Let's move along to the rematch, highly anticipated rematch. Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall. I've seen some odds books have Hall as the underdog. I know a couple days ago they were dead even. It looks like an even fight. Do you see it that way, Adam? Who are you picking?
Yo, it's crazy because it's a rematch, right? They fought 10 years ago in Ring of Combat, and Chris Weidman knocked out Hall, but that's a different Chris Weidman, James. I just don't believe in Chris Weidman anymore, man. I don't trust him anymore. I don't trust his chin anymore, James. He gets knocked out a lot. Hall's looked better, I think, lately. He's improved since going to Fortis, man. And he knocked out Anderson Silva, good confidence booster. He looked really good at the wrestling, too, in that Carlos Jr. fight in Vancouver. He looked really good in that fight, the grappling, and I think in this fight, if Weidman can't get him down to the ground, I think he's going to really struggle in the feet. He might get knocked out here again, man, or maybe just a decision. But I kind of like Uriah Hall as an underdog. I'll be honest, James. What are you thinking?
I do as well. Hate to agree here for the sake of the audience, and we want Adam and I to disagree more here. But I like Hall because of the knockout power. Now, my only concern here is it did take him a couple rounds to finish in Anderson Silva. This is only a 3-round fight. Weidman typically, other than the Dominic Reyes fight, is typically a guy who gets finished a bit later in the fight. The other thing with Weidman, he's got good wrestling. Can Hall stuff that takedown? We will find out. But I have to go with Uriah Hall. Now, here's the thing. They're both the same age, Adam, but obviously Chris Weidman taking a lot more damage over the last little bit. The Reyes knockout, Yoel Romero, he's had injuries, surgeries. Hall hasn't had that. Hall's just been very inconsistent. So I'm also going to take Uriah Hall here. I don't think you can overlook the underdog value here, and I just think that this isn't a case like when he fought Omari Akhmedov. Akhmedov is not a guy to go out there and get a quick finish or get a finish, period. He's a guy that will just sort of, try and neutralize your weapons and take you out of the game, but that's not what happened against Chris Weidman. Weidman uses wrestling and won the fight, but you remember when he was standing with Akhmedov, he didn't look so hot, and I don't think it'll go as well with Uriah Hall in this one. I'm also taking Hall by knockout, and if you want some good odds, take the Hall inside the distance. That's plus money. Probably be better taking the knockout prop than the submission prop, but you never know with Uriah Hall. Again, he's very inconsistent, but I think he gets a knockout here over Chris Weidman, and I think Weidman's kind of brought back down to reality a little bit. I saw his interview earlier where he's saying he feels like he's going to be a champion. I know you got to talk that way heading into a big fight like this, but I just think that Chris Weidman's just taking too much damage, and Uriah Hall's going to capitalize on it. So we agree there on the Uriah Hall pick. All right, the women's flyweight title fight, Valentina Shevchenko, Jessica Andrade. You look at the odds for this one, Valentina anywhere from like a 4 to 5 to 1 favorite here, which you'd think is a lot, but it's not for Valentina. Typically, she's getting boxing odds like minus 1,000 when she's fighting a Jessica Eye or Caitlin Chukagian. So this is actually relatively low for Valentina, and she's taking on a fighter in Jessica Andrade who has some serious power. Who are you leaning on this one, Adam?
Dude, I completely agree. Like, why is it not minus 1,400? Like, I love Andrade. I love her, James. And I predicted she would win that first fight with Rose. So I definitely think she's good, but I just think she's going to be too small in this fight. The wrestling is going to be a huge problem, I think. I think Shevchenko, if Andrade is having any success on the feet, James, Shevchenko can go to that wrestling. That's what makes her so amazing as a champion. She's so well-rounded. She's so much better than all these other girls. I'm surprised these odds are this low. I actually see value at minus 430, James, or whatever. It's like, I think she should be a minus 1,000 here, So, yeah, maybe I'm underselling Andrade a little bit, guys, because I know she did have a nice win over Caitlin Chukagian, but come on. I mean, this is a huge step up from that. And, the question for me, James, does she get the finish or not? I'm kind of leaning towards a finish maybe because Andrade, I think, might slow down a little bit as the fight goes on. What are you thinking, James?
I'm thinking as well, too. I think it's either a decision or perhaps a later finish because what I could see happening is Andrade is going to try and take Valentina's head off, and that's easier said than done. Now, Valentina's going to have a height and reach advantage in the matchup. Can Andrade get on the inside and knock her out? If you remember when she knocked out Rose, it was a slam. It wasn't like a full-on like punch, so to speak, so she might have some trouble with that with Valentina being the bigger fighter. The other thing that we have to look at as well is the fact that Valentina is one of the best strikers, not just in the women's division, but in UFC right now on the roster. She's great. So she knows what to expect here when it comes from Andrade's striking. I think Andrade has a puncher's chance, but we've never really seen Valentina like in any sort of danger with power punchers like an Amanda Nunes. I mean, Shevchenko was fine in that department. So I don't think Andrade is going to surprise. I agree with you. I think that this is Valentina's fight to lose. And if you think about it over the last couple fights, what's been the one weakness in Valentina? Maybe you could say that Maia won that second round when they fought in their last fight. Jennifer Maia, that is. But outside of that, Valentina's look pretty damn good. I just don't see Andrade going out there and finishing Valentina. Andrade has serious power, not ignoring that. But I think Valentina, with her level of striking and her just background, she knows what to expect with Jessica Andrade. So I think she'll be fine. I do think this is a more compelling matchup than some of the opponents that Valentina's had in the past. But I don't see Andrade going out there and finishing Valentina because that's really, I think, her only path to victory here. Give me Valentina either by a late finish or by decision in this one to get it done. All right, let's get to the other title fight on this card. We've got one of three title fights. We've got Weili Zhang finally fighting Rose Namajunas. Right now, Weili Zhang, a bit of a favorite here. I've seen the line, come a little bit closer to fight time, but there's a lot of people that I've seen on my timeline anyways, not that you can judge that are, thinking that Weili's going to go out there and destroy Rose Namajunas. Are you one of those people, Adam? How do you look at this fight?
Man, I no, James, not at all. I think this fight, guys, is like super close. I'm going to go with the underdog in this one, man. I'm going to go with Rose. I think she matches up really well with Weili. Like, people forget how good Rose is. Like, she beat Joanna twice. She knocked her out, and then she won a decision. Like, Zhang's best win is Joanna, and it was like a really close fight. She could have lost that fight. It was that close, right? It was a great fight. I think this is going to be an awesome fight. What I like about Rose here, she's got a little bit of I think advantage as far as speed and movement, man. Zhang is very strong and she can definitely knock her out, James, I think. But overall, I think Namajunas can kind of pick and move, stick and move, and pick her apart from the outside. I also feel like it's an MMA fight; it's not just striking. So if it does go to the ground, I would give Namajunas the advantage there too, James. So to me, I see some path to victory here for Namajunas, and I know I sound crazy with this one, but. Because she's on a 20-fight win streak and everything. But, man, I remember when I said Jan Blachowicz would beat Israel, and people said I was nuts, James. Sometimes the matchup is a decent matchup. I think Rose matches up decently, so I'll take the plus 185 underdog, James. I'll take Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, I hate this being our first show we're doing together and we're agreeing, but I'm 100% with you, man. Rose is totally being overlooked here. Aside from the fact that, even before she was fighting Zhang, there was this whole thing with her and, the Conor McGregor and the bus incident and people not liking her for that. Okay, so there's that out there. Then she makes these comments. We're not going to get into it. We're not a political show, but obviously that's made more people not like Rose and want to see her lose. Adam, I've seen people on my timeline say that Rose is scared. Like, I feel scared for Rose. She fought Andrade twice. Like, what's the difference? Like, Zhang obviously has power too, but I mean, come on. Like, this idea that Rose is going to get destroyed, I don't get it. That's one false narrative. The other false narrative is that Weili Zhang's going to finish this early. She's had one finish early, and it was a great win, don't get me wrong, over Jessica Andrade, but outside of that, Zhang's gone the distance a lot, at least in the UFC she has. So I think that's a point that a lot of people are missing out on. You look at Rose in her career, typically when she gets finished, it's not a first round finish. It's usually, she lost, I think, third round to the Carla Esparza. She got slammed on her head by Andrade in in the first fight they had, but that was such a weird finish that like anyone who was dipped on their head like that would probably be knocked out. So this idea that Rose has a bad chin, I don't agree with that either. Rose is going to have a height and reach advantage. Rose has that championship experience as well. So if this does go late, Rose is going to have the cardio to do it. And I think the other thing that people are overlooking, she trains with Trevor Whitman. Look what he's done with Kamaru Usman. This is one of the best coaches in the world. Rose is going to be ready to go. And I don't think, and as much power as Zhang has, we've seen Rose, like when she fought Andrade in the rematch, she can take a punch and still come forward and still win a fight here. It is a 5-round fight. So, maybe there's a chance that Zhang could turn it on later in the fight, but I don't think that happens. I think Rose survives the onslaught, and I think she potentially either gets a late finish or a decision in this one. But I'm with you. I don't get why people are so convinced that Zhang is going to do that. And I think a lot of that's being fueled by Rose as what they think of her as a person as opposed to her as a fighter. Go back and watch some of her fights. Even the Andrade first fight, the first fight she had with Andrade, she was winning that fight before she got slammed on her head. A lot of people forget that. They think, oh, Rose got knocked out, she got destroyed. No, she didn't. She got knocked out in the second round. So we're on the same page here. Again, hate to bore our audience with Adam and I agreeing on things, but I just don't. I think Rose absolutely has a shot to do this, and I think Zhang's going to be brought down to reality in this matchup. So give me Rose and Nu on Saturday. All right, let's get to the main event. I don't think we're going to have to discuss this one too much, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the same page here again. We've got Kamaru Usman against Jorge Masvidal, the rematch that not a lot of people wanted. Let's be honest here. Usman is sizable favorite. I've seen anywhere from 4 to even close to 5-1 odds here for Usman in the rematch. Adam, does this go any differently?
Well, James, remember, you did pick Smith and I picked Crute, so we did have a difference there. And the other 2 fights were underdogs, man. So, even though we did agree on a couple, that's a good thing we're agreeing on some dogs here. We're not just saying all the chalk's going to win. It's too easy to say all the favorites are going to win, guys. You have to look deeper than that, man.
Yeah.
But for this fight, James, I'm not sure, what else we need to do except for watch the fight from last year.
Yeah.
What else do we have to do? We just saw this fight. Yeah, I know Masvidal's going to have a full training camp, and he's not going to have to cut all the weight. So I do expect somewhat better performance, James, but overall, I expect a great performance from Usman too. Usman's really good, and he's the kind of guy James, you don't want to put money against this guy because if you do, your money's gone. He never loses, so you can't bet against him really. I wouldn't be tempted at all to take Masvidal. I'll be honest. I thought Masvidal last time could do it, but after seeing the way that fight played out, I just stylistically, James, it's a terrible matchup for him. Love Masvidal. I mean, hey, it'd be awesome if you knocked him out. I'm not saying I want to bet on Usman at minus 400. I don't know if there's value on that, James, per se, but I obviously am going to pick Usman. I think he wins another decision.
Yeah, I think the real question in this fight is, can Usman finish Masvidal, or will it end up being a decision like the other fight? I think it probably will go the distance. If you look at Usman's finishes outside of Gilbert Burns, most of them are the Colby finish was late. Most of the time he does go the distance, but we'll see. I mean, Masvidal, very, very, very tough guy to finish. The thing is, Adam, even though, yes, Masvidal had to cut a lot of weight and he didn't get a full camp, I mean, there were some rumblings too that Masvidal sort of figured he was going to fight Usman. That's why he brought in the wrestlers, if you remember, leading up to that fight. This was even prior to the fight even being booked. So there's that side of it. The other side of it is, no matter what, all this time, yes, Usman hasn't fought since July. You can't become the wrestler that Kamaru Usman is in under a year. It just doesn't happen. So even if Usman feels like he's not getting the better of the stand-up, he can always revert back to that wrestling and sort of grind out Jorge Masvidal if he wants to. This idea that Masvidal is going to go out there and get a quick finish a la Ben Askren or even a second round finish like Darren Till, I just don't see that happening. Usman showed in the last fight against a guy in Gilbert Burns who I think might even have more power than Masvidal or close to it. Burns gave him his best shot, and Usman survived and ended up living to tell a tale and ended up getting the finish himself here. So I just don't see Masvidal knocking out Usman, and if he can't knock him out, how's he going to win this fight? I got Usman all day in this fight. I would look maybe at the inside the distance prop if you want to get a little creative with the odds, or even the decision prop as well. Just, maybe see where you're leaning on this one. But yeah, I definitely like Usman in this fight. I don't think Masvidal is going to go out there and surprise everyone, even with the full camp. There were better matchups to do for Kamaru Usman instead of Jorge Masvidal, but obviously he's looking at the money here, which makes a lot of sense. Adam, where can people get a hold of you in terms of your social media and all the UFC 261 content you have for us and everywhere else?
Yeah, on Twitter at Adam Martin, Spectation Sports. I got my betting preview coming out on, believe it's Thursday or Friday this week, guys. And the video, obviously, you're seeing it right now. But I'll have my full picks over at MAOsberger.com and EliteSportsBetting.com as well. James, thanks again, man. And you guys can find me at BJPenn.com as well.
At Lynch on Sports on Twitter and on Instagram. You can check out my full preview of this card on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Lynch on Sports, where I go a little bit more in depth on this. Again, these are just quick picks. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys soon and appreciate you tuning in.